When I was 19 years old, I discovered photography because I was taking a course at the local college. The course was a bit of a bird course. It was called Audiovisual Technician. It's a course that lasted 2 years. And really the only reason I took that course was because I really wasn't very qualified to take any other courses. I had no math. I had grade 12 chemistry and biology. And I wanted to get into something along those fields, but I really needed math. I hated math. So I didn't take math. However, I got into this course and I discovered through one of the courses in this program, photography. Now our local college had a pretty new darkroom and a teacher. His name was Karl. Now Karl was from Munich, Germany. He escaped World War II with his father, and his background and his father's background was photographic in nature. They ran a camera store or something like that. So he was a gruff, tall, very intimidating figure. And I thought he was the world's greatest photographer because in his office at the school, he had all these awards, which I revered. And I thought, whoa, this is the ultimate. Now, Karl shot mostly Leica and Carl Zeiss lenses and all that good stuff. And he used to get amazing images. He shot a lot of 35 millimeter back in the day. We're talking about the 70s here. Medium format was very common amongst professionals, and still 4x5 was sort of common to some degree. But he shot a lot of I forget what model it's called. It's the M something. That's a rangefinder with tiny little lens. Anyways, he also would photograph a lot of grizzly bears. He'd go up to Alaska and shoot grizzly bears. He was well known for that. He was well known for shooting sporting events, race cars, what have you. And he was also well known for his intimidating disposition. He would come into the darkroom booming, madder than a hornet. He was so angry if we were dirty in any way, shape, or form. I think this set the stage for me because later on, a few years afterwards, I got a full-time job working as a black and white darkroom technician for a local mining industrial photographer. And I was told by the owner that I was the best printer he ever had. Now, I'm not bragging, but I'm bragging. Yeah, okay. He said it, not me. And he had always hired, university or college grads. And I was a 2 times college dropout. But I was a really good darkroom printer. And I think being influenced by Karl sort of set the stage for me. Now, a couple things I want to point out about that experience with Karl. I was 19. I was very naive. I just discovered photography. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the darkroom. And I really respected Karl. A lot of people were afraid of him. A lot of people didn't respect him and were totally intimidated by him. And in retrospect, I think that that's probably not a good thing because even if my respect and admiration for him was naive and innocent, I still had this appreciation for what he was, what he created, and it sort of marked me for life. It, in many ways, led me down the right road. I always look back with gratitude and appreciation for that, having really established and set the seeds for my lifelong career as a photographer. I just turned 61 2 days ago, and I'm still running a full-time photography business. So the question I had asked Karl, and he brought this up decades later, I'll explain that in a minute. I went into his office once and I said, Mr. Summer, if I buy a Leica, will I be able to take good pictures like you do? Anyways, fast forward. It was around 2002. I was speaking at a local branch of the Professional Photographers of Canada. And I was speaking on digital photography. Now, you got to remember, my studio went full digital in 2000. I was one of the first to go full-blown digital, and I was doing a lot of volume. I had a lot of darkroom experience, which really helped me a great deal. But I knew the future was here, so I got rid of all my Hasselblads. I got rid of all my Nikons. And I was 100% digital. So people were attending these events, these meetings, because they wanted to hear more from guys like me who were doing the digital thing. I mean, it's commonplace now, but back then it was pretty new. So here comes Karl, and I'm like, oh God, no, I'm all intimidated. Here I am in my 40s by this time, and Karl's coming to learn from me. Anyways, he was a no-nonsense kind of guy. Just a little side story. At one point, I was talking about how I preferred prime lenses versus zoom lenses. Now, you got to go back to the early 2000s. Zoom lenses eventually became the de facto standard. It's all I used, with the 14 to 24 Nikon, 24 to 70, and the 80 or 70 to 200, pretty common fare for a full-time photographer. But at the time, I said primes were better. And he yells out from the back of the room, "Bullshit!" in his thick German accent. I'm like, "Oh, what?" And he explained that zoom lenses were really good in quality. But anyways, he also at that point in time told everybody in front of this presentation that I was doing, he said, "Rob, you remember that time?" You got to imagine this in a thick German accent. That when you were in college and you came into my office and you asked me if you bought a Leica, if your pictures would be as good as mine. And I had completely forgot about it, but it's true. So anyways, my point is this, is that it's not the camera, obviously. I know that now. But I do appreciate really good lenses. And all my lenses are Zeiss lenses. When I shoot the Sony system, I use the Batis line. And I believe it's largely in part because of the impression that Karl really imposed upon me and the sharpness of the lenses. They're very, very good lenses. I absolutely love them. I love a good quality piece of glass, and I'll pay extra for it. I'll break the bank, and it's what I use 100% in my studio. So, but again, it's not the camera that makes the photographer. The camera and the lenses are only a tool, as I discovered later on. And in order to really be a successful photographer commercially and in business, it's nice to have those cameras. It's nice to have the lenses that you really appreciate, but it's also very important to really know how to market your services and to get out into the community and build an established brand. And for me, that was in weddings, children, fairies, families, commercial, theater, symphony, all these different areas that I'm quite busy in. So thank Karl. Thank you, Karl. Karl passed away about 6 months ago. He was 88 years old. I never did get to talk to him much in his later years, but the impression he led upon me stayed with me for life and always will. So I always appreciated the lessons that were learned, and more importantly, I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back and say that I wasn't intimidated by him. I was in awe, and we all need to have people that we are in awe of, that we are, instead of being afraid of, we let them mentor us, even if we ask naive questions. Back in the day, I don't know what his real answer was, but it was a question that meant that I wanted to become a better photographer. So, and it kind of worked. So far, I'm still in the game, 61 years old, and earning my living 100% in photography. So thanks, Karl. So remember, boys and girls, it's not the camera that makes the photographer. It's just a tool. It's no different than being a carpenter or a mechanic or whatever it is that you're creating. What is more important is how you see light, how you compose, how you work with people, and obviously marketing and earning a living. So, all right, that's all I got to say about that. Thank you.